Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner Daily Technical Update. It is Monday the 7th of July and I'm a little bit late this morning. I do apologize, but in this video there's no recommendation or advice whatsoever. It is for educational purposes only. And let's start today with the Nasdaq 100. Nasdaq 100 closed. Well, all US markets were closed Friday, so you can just check more in deep details about the markets in Friday's video, but just to recap, we closed at all-time highs. We are setting it back a little bit after the closing Thursday, as we can see here on the US NAS 100 CFD. And if we are looking at the here we have the S&P 5 index that closed the new all-time highs. The Dow Jones didn't do that. But as we can also see here, we have the US 500 just pre-market. It's bouncing a little bit after closing, but still below the Thursday peak. Same here on the Dow Jones CFD, so it's virtually flat. However, as we can see, if we just go back to the 100 Nasdaq 100, there's no divergence on the RSI and is indicating that we could see higher levels, but it is a little bit stretched. So a correction could kick in. So be careful out there while you are investing. In Asia, we had Seng a little bit lower, still in its correction phase here. There is divergence on the RSI, indicating trend exhaustion. However, we are still in a bullish trend with higher highs. Higher high, higher low, higher high, and maybe a higher low here. If we can stay above the rising trend line there, then I think we could bounce back. And if it moves back above 24,500, well, then I think uptrend will resume. Nikkei in a correction phase that could take it down to around 39,000, and then I think it will bounce. There's no divergence on the RSI, indicating higher levels on Nikkei. European markets, EuroStoxx50 is already open, just a tad higher, but it is in this range here. It needs to close above 5,345, and then it will resume uptrends. RSI is still negative sentiment, so it is struggling a little bit. Could slide back here towards 5,200. Here we have the CFD that has bounced a little bit because we closed Friday on a weaker note. The DAX, well, it is in a bullish trend here, but negative sentiment on the RSI because it actually closed below 40 threshold there mid-June. It needs to close back above 60 threshold to establish a bullish trend, or confirm a bullish trend at least. We can see here the CFD is just above the support there at 23,700. On the FX side, euro dollar seems to we are likely to have a correction here that could take it down to test the lower rising trend line there and the 38.2 retracement, possibly a little bit lower here in the coming days. If it takes out the peak here at 118.30, uptrend is likely to resume towards 119. Sterling dollar in a correction phase. If it takes out the spike down there on the 2nd of July at 135.60, then we're looking 135.20, maybe even down to 134.5. Euro sterling slowly crawling back higher after setting back here, got rejected. I know it spiked above, but it closed below the 786 retracement here at 86.55, setting back, almost testing the 86 level. If it takes out 86, then we'll see a larger correction down to 85, maybe 85.25. But I think we will see uptrend resuming. It is actually an uptrend, but it will be extended, and there's no divergence on the RSI, indicating likely higher levels on euro sterling. Yen pairs, dollar yen bouncing here. That bounced from the 142.80, 75.80 support and the rising trend line. So it is forming this range trading behavior. If it takes out the lows there at 142.65 or 146.30, that is the range to look out for to be broken. We have the 55 moving average coming up, but we have the 100 coming down there, so it could be range bound here for a little bit. The euro yen pushing higher towards 171.40.50 resistance. There is some trend exhaustion indicated here by the RSI that is showing divergence. However, it broke above its falling trend line, so it could push higher towards that level, and I think we will see that scenario play out. Aussie yen, well, still in a bullish trend, but it's a bit fragile, but there should be potential up to 95.75. Sterling yen, in this rising channel-like pattern here, setting back a little bit, but still positive sentiment on the RSI. There is divergence, as you can see, because the RSI values are declining, where the market move high. You can see it actually declining a bit there, slightly declining market move high. So it is indicating trend exhaustion. But again, the trend is your friend. We could push higher towards 199, 200. Aussie dollar in a correction phase, currently around the 38.2 retracement, just around 65. Could dip lower. I wouldn't be surprised if I see it down to the 61.8 retracement at 64.56, where we also have the upper part of the cloud and the 55 moving average. It is the 200 moving average that is indicating this medium term to longer term trend is bearish. So it is dragging on it. So I think we could see it dipping down to that level there. If it takes out the peak here, just below 66, 65.90, uptrend is resuming. Dollar Canada in a bouncing mode above the 38.2 retracement, could bounce further towards 137. I think we will reach that, which is the 61.8, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get it all the way up to the 786 retracement, just around 137.45. Sterling Canada also in a bouncing mode here, bouncing from the 61.8 and the 55 moving average and the upper part of cloud, and I think we could see it bounce towards 187, which is the 61.8 retracement. EuroSwitch, really not much to say, still this range bound between here in 93 and 94.70, but in a tighter range. I still believe it will break out to the downside, but I want confirmation. We are below all moving averages, we are below the cloud, we are negative sentiment on the RSI, so that's why I lean to that. The dollar Swiss in a bouncing mode, I think we get up to 80, maybe 80.5, could be all the way up to test the upper falling trend line and the 61.8 retracement there at 80.84. The dollar index also bouncing somewhat after reaching the 138.2 and projection of this correction here, dipping just down to 96. I think we'll see it bounce up to the falling trend line and 97.68. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that. So what I will actually do, I will remove this and say, okay, of the last leg down, we have the Fibonacci levels there, and I think we could get up to just below 98 possibly. If it takes out 96, then downtrend has resumed. Moving on to gold, that didn't even get all the way up to the 61.8 retracement, now setting back and could test the lower rising trend line once again. If it closed below 3,245, then a bearish trend has been confirmed, and I think also that will result in RSI closing below 40 threshold, thereby further confirming the bearish trend towards below 3,200 to 3,150 area. So that is the situation at the moment. We had this top reversal pattern in place. If it takes out the peak there at 3,366, then uptrend is likely to resume, but it will be confirmed by a close above 3,400. Silver didn't get all the way up to test the previous peak, was very close to, now setting back, and if it pushes below 35.40, then a downtrend is likely to resume. Platinum didn't take out the previous peak there, so now we are setting back, and this is the range. It needs to take out the peak here at 14.37 or to the downside at 13.22. If it takes out to the downside, then I think we'll see it pushing down to around 12.60. Copper also in a correction phase, and then we are looking at these Fibonacci numbers, so I will remove this one, which we reached the 138.2 projection just around 520. Now we are in a correction phase. We could test the 455 support here fairly soon, but we are in a positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels on copper on the short to medium term, but very short term seems like we are in a correction phase here. On the energy side, and WTI crude oil bouncing from the 100 moving average. It did bounce from these support areas, just above the support area down here, and the cloud area. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, but it did show divergence over here. If it takes out, and let me just add that as a horizontal line right there. So if it takes out that peak there at 67.58, then we're likely to be looking at 69.50 at the 38.2 retracement. I wouldn't be. I think we'll get up there. Will it get higher than that? I'm not quite so sure. I think the picture is almost similar, but not as much. The Brent crude oil, if it moves back and takes out the lows here at 66.34, then expect to move down to around 63, 62 and a half. But if it takes out the peak there, let's also add a horizontal line to that so we can actually see there we are. If it takes out 69.21, then I think we'll see a push up above 70, possibly up to 72. The euro net gas seems to be resuming down, continuing its downtrend toward 31.5. I wouldn't be surprised if it takes out the lows here. Negative sentiment on the RSI indicating lower levels. The US nat gas has already continuing extending its downtrend below the 786 retracement. I think we can see it pushing towards $3 fairly soon. US 10-year Treasury yields has bounced and could continue bouncing. If it takes out 435, then I think we will see it up to around 445 maybe. Can it close above the cloud here? That would be key to witness. Also RSI, if it closes back above 60 threshold, then we are back in a bullish trend. However, I think we could be range bound in this region here between 425, 430 and 445 for quite some time. But let's see about that. If it's being knocked back down here at below 425, then I think down to resume with a potential down to 4%. On the European 10-year, well, it bounced from the 255 support, and then we have resistance here at 263. That is the range at the moment. Positive sentiment slightly. A positive sentiment indicating likely higher push. Could we get it up to 270? I do not hope so, because we don't like high interest rates, but it is not unlikely. If it takes out 254, well, then expect it sliding back towards 245. UK, that had this massive move here, excuse me, on the 2nd of July, setting back, and it's caught range bound is in the region around 450 and 460, and I think if it takes out the lows there at 450, then it could slide back lower. But if it takes out 460 and closes above that, then I think uptrend will push it higher towards 470, 475. And then we move on to Bitcoin, 110,651 resistance. If it takes out that, then I also think it will take out 112,000 resistance all-time highs there, and then I think a new all-time highs. We have Ethereum, trading around 25.5, 2600. And that's the region, but if it takes out the lows there at 2370, downtrend is likely to resume. If it takes out 2700, then an uptrend has potential to the highs here just around 2900. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and talk to you again tomorrow.